Hello guys, welcome to the channel and welcome to the first movie in our Pete Walker week. As you know, recently I've been I bought a few of his movies. I managed to get hold of that amazing DVD box set which is in my collector's edition, and then within the 88 film sale they had a number of his films on sale, so I thought, well, I'm going to pick those up because they were great prices. They're about £8. So I thought, well, I'm going to pick them up, and so I've got them on Blu-ray as well. So we're going to look at three this week, and the first one we're going to look at is House of the Whipchord, which I believe is one of his early films, sort of like early 70s. But before we go and actually look at the film, let's have a look at the special features on the disc. Right, so here we are at the main menu of the film House of the Whipcord. So we're going to have a look, see the special features, and you've got an audio commentary with film critics Kim Newman. He's on a lot of stuff. He is with Barry Forshaw and writer David McKillary. An audio commentary with director producer Peter Walker and a director of photography Peter Jessup. Courting controversy. An inside view of the films of Peter Walker. House of Walker, interview with director Peter Walker. Return to the House of Whipcord. Sheila Keith, a nice old lady, and the original trailer. So that's the special features on House of the Whipcord. So as you can see, that there's quite an array of sort of special features on the disc, which is really good. There's a couple of good audio commentaries in there, which I think will be pretty cool to sort of like go through. I do like to watch a good commentary because I think sometimes they're cool. Anyway, on to the story. So this is based in the 70s, and it's very, very British. It's a very British film. And we've got this French girl called Anne-Marie. And at the beginning of the film, we see her sort of running up to this truck in the pouring rain. And she arrives at this guy is asleep in his truck, and she's absolutely soaked through and looks like she's running away from somebody. And so he comes to her aid and he helps her into his truck. And he says, well, you know, he helps her out, and she's like really sort of cold and tearful. So he takes his coat off to put around, and notice she's got loads of sort of marks on her back. And so he then puts his coat over her and says, I'm going to take you to London and we'll take you to the police. So off they go on a trip. And she starts muttering a lot of things about a place called MET. So he on the trip, on the go, he's not sure what's actually gone on, and neither are we at this point, apart from she's got these brutal marks on her back. And then it cuts back to the sort of before she was there, when she was in a swinging London by the looks of it. And she's at a party with all of her friends, and they're sort of like all talking and dancing and all this sort of thing. And there's a strange guy at the party who sees Anne-Marie and starts talking to her and starts sort of chatting her up and all this sort of thing. And she likes him. Her friends start asking, who is this guy? Who is it? And they're not sure themselves. They said, oh, it's just someone, it's one of them met, and she's just sort of like tagged along to the party. Anyway, after the party, she sort of she goes out on a date with him and gets on really, really well, and she starts to sort of fall for him. And then he arranges to take her away for a weekend. And so she's dead chuffed about that and wants to go. We then cut to the flat where she's sort of packing up to go away for the weekend, and her friend asks her where she's going and all this stuff. I think the character's name is Mark, this guy. Anyway, so she gets off, and off she goes on the weekend with this Mark. And there's something not right about him. He seems to be ignoring her when they're on the road trip. She doesn't know where they're going. He says she's taking them to see his parents. Anyway, so off they go. And he starts scaring her by driving really fast and all this. But he tells her to go to sleep. He says, we've got quite a journey. Just go to sleep. And she falls asleep. Next thing, we wake up in front of this big building with this big blue metal doors, which looks like HM Slane Prison in Porridge. It looks very similar. Anyway, the big doors open and she goes in. She gets out the car and he drives off. And then a woman comes out called Bates and takes her in. And she meets Bates and Walker, who tell her to undress and take all of her clothes off and get into these other clothes. And she hasn't got an idea what's going on whatsoever. And it turns out she's been gone to this sort of prison, like a woman's sort of prison for... She's a model and she's been doing sort of like nude photographs. So she's there for all this sort of thing. And she's in this prison. But it's not a normal prison, guys. This is a prison run by sort of prison guards and people that used to work in it. They're now running their own sort of discipline sort of society for these young girls, because there's other girls in there. And they've got these set of rules that if you break them, you get punished. I think the first one you go into like solitary confinement, the second one you get whipped, and then the third time, you get hanged. And all these sort of things go on. And one girl's made a mistake 3 times and she's stolen some bread. And so they're planning her death warrant to hang her. But Anne-Marie and her little cellmate, whose name I can't remember, decide to have a go at sort of freeing her. And so they try to free her, but they get caught in the act. And Anne-Marie gets put into her solitary confinement. Her cellmate has done something wrong before, so she gets whipped, and the girl they're trying to save gets hanged. And the story sort of leads on sort of from there. So I won't tell you any more of the plot because I don't want to spoil it for you. Yeah, the characters in this are really, really cool. Anne-Marie, she's like a French girl. She's very, very cute, very sweet, and very sort of like innocent in a lot of ways. She's supposed to be this 19-year-old girl, but she's really, really cool character. You really feel for her, and you really sort of like think, God, what a weird sort of predicament to get in. These sort of things happen in Britain, and it's kind of horrifying and really sort of terrifying. Mark, the guy that plays Mark, I'm sure I recognise him from the Vampire Circus film. I'm sure he starred in that. Now, the 2 prison guards, Walker and Bates, they're quite funny, but they're also very brutal as well. They don't care what they do. Especially Walker, who looks like a man really, but she enjoys to see the punishment that these poor girls go through. And then the whole prison's run by a judge and his wife, who are the old prison sort of they used to run a prison years ago, but they've been shunned from it for something bad they did, because the wife killed this French woman in that other prison. So they've been sort of shunned, but they've opened their own prison. This isn't really a prison though; it's a place of torture. And outside with the other characters, we got her other friend who's very worried about her because she's not turned up, and she starts on the sort of lookabout and investigating what's happened to Anne-Marie. But all the characters are played really, really well, and I thought it was a really sort of well scripted and played out film. So yeah, I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was really, really cool. It's the first of the week. When I was watching it, I was thinking, I have seen this before. I'm thinking I've definitely seen this before, and it's sort of like, but a lot of it could be. A lot of me still thinks I haven't, but if I have, it's been years ago. I think it's because a lot of the characters in there are very sort of famous British actors that have been in many, many films, and it's sort of like thinking, oh, maybe I have seen this before, but I don't think so. But I'm going to score this a great watch and give it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was really, really cool. A very strong exploitation British horror film from the 70s, which Pete Walker was absolutely renowned for doing. And this is like, he was one of those people that always went against the grain, what everyone wanted him to do. He would do something different. And this is something different. It's very similar to an Italian sort of women's prison sort of film, but not as brutal or as a sexploitation as that. There is quite a bit of nudity in this film. And it is a very powerful sort of film. And you think, yeah, it reminds me of this. It reminds me of Salo. It reminds me of all these sort of things, not in an extreme way, but there's elements of it in these films. And you're thinking these poor girls going through this torture and going through this, you just really feel for them. You just want them to get out because they've only done minor things like shoplifting or whatever. And they're in this prison being tortured by these merciless people that just love violence and just love to torture these poor girls, and they've got absolutely no way to escape because it's a prison in a big war. It's an actual old deserted prison, and they've taken it over. And the film's great, really, really cool. The pluses of the edition, it looks really, really nice on Blu-ray. I did flick in the DVD to compare it from the box set, and it does look a lot better on Blu-ray. Now, the DVD looks really old and grainy and looks of its age, so I'm really happy that I did pick it up. And like I told you before, it's really quite well acted. It's well scripted, and it's a real film that you sort of like. Every character means something, and you're trying to think, why isn't this person doing this to help? Why isn't they doing this? And I'm just thinking, and you find yourself going, oh, please, just stop. You know, why can't you just let these girls go? You know, they've done nothing really wrong. And it's just these sadistic people running this horrible prison. But it's a great film. House of the Whipchord, 8 out of 10. Any of you guys seen it? If you have, let me know down below what you think of it. It is a classic British film. Pete Walker is a classic and amazing, underrated British director, in my humble opinion. And he's made some great films in horror and out of horror. So we're concentrating on the horror, this being a horror channel. And that's the first one of these films today. Well, I hope you enjoyed the review. We're going to do 2 more this week. I'm not sure which ones yet. I'll have a little think and join me for those. And if you can't, go and join some other horror channels. Join Horror Hands, Horror Geek, Man v Film, RS Design, Pizzawell. I'm Ice Lord, Cat Watches Horror Movies, Grumpy Andrews, Haunted House, and The Maniac. And a massive shout out to the lad. Till next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I'll see you all soon.